أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم. Can't copy that fast. Did brother Oh, I think I see what it is. Brother Mustafa might have had to drop. Bear with me just a moment to get screen sharing capabilities. But in the meantime, while we do that, I can multitask on this one because now he gets to pray as you see me pray. He also gave the good tidings to whoever prayed like him. Such a person has a covenant with Allah that will enter him into the garden. Skirt. Rewind. He gave the good tidings to whoever prayed like him. And this is where my highlight stopped because I started crying last night when I read it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sends good tidings, sends prayers of peace and salawat unto people who try their best to emulate him in prayer. Y'all, I wish I could have saw me running up and down my hallway last night when I read this. On this book for years, but never was able to get it like that because when I first got the book, all I could understand was Islam. But with the way that Sheikh Sufi teaches this religion, path, way of life, spiritual system, however you want to describe it, I think that's the only way to describe it. It's just, there are no words, right? There are no words. I can literally look back at a point in time when I read this exact same thing, y'all, and glaze completely over the fact that he just said that if I try my best to pray like him and pray like him, learn how to pray like him, that he sends prayers unto me. But does not Sheikh Sufi teach us to say certain things like, after the weird of the peacock, we bust out with Sallallahu ala Muhammad Ya Rahman, right? We're sending prayers on Muhammad by the blessings within the name of Ya Rahman. When we send salawat, we're doing this to send that up to him. But as soon as you get on your prayer robe, each and every single one of you that may be here that come up to the early morning Fajr Salat with the radio show, y'all are putting Bamba, Muhammad, and Islam out there in the airwaves at such a level I don't know if it can be seen right now. But you are literally doing just what he said. And while you're doing it, while you're making salat early in the morning with all of your brothers and sisters online, while you're making salat, you're not doing salawat. You're not sending prayers on the Prophet. It's not a bad thing because you're making salat. However, while you're making salat, he's sending prayers on you. Is there anyone that does not know all 5 salat, or at least the motions throughout? Because if not, if you have time to look at a few videos online, and if you have that PDF, you can start reading from page 10. On page 10, we start with the intention. Yes, sister.
Is it the? I'm sorry. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing?
Well, I like us a lot, sister. Well.
No, just bust out talking. Okay. I wanted to ask which PDF. Is it the one we looking at now? And also, I think I have one with the different positions. Also a lot, but I still don't really understand when to do it. Like on what cue, on what, So.
There's one that you will always hear over and over and over, and that's the primary one. As a matter of fact, the first thing we do, Allahu Akbar. I kind of just gave the answer away.
Okay.
So even if you're astaghfirullah, even if you're like me, when I went for the first time, I wasn't comfortable enough to do it fully. But I did not, yes, I'll go ahead and share that with the chat. But I did not let anybody else in the mosque know that I was still getting comfortable with Salat, right? So what I did, I know that it's recommended to kind of look at where you're about to put your forehead at and just focus there. But what I was doing was looking at my periphery. As soon as I heard the guy in the front say Allahu Akbar, and I noticed that everybody started to bow. Oh, okay. So I started to move with him. The Imam said Allahu Akbar, or Sami Allahu liman hamida. Only one you might hear that's different. But Allahu Akbar is the primary one that you'll hear to know how to bow down, back up, prostrate. Allahu Akbar, sit up. Allahu Akbar, prostrate. Allahu Akbar. So if you hear Allah, as soon as he starts to say that, you kind of look at your periphery to see if the people beside you are getting ready to move. Astaghfirullah for using Salat like investigatively or studying, but that's kind of how I had to get into it. And it actually worked because I caught them moving when the Imam said Allahu Akbar. I was like, that's it. Now I know my first Muslim thing to say, Allahu Akbar, learning Fatiha and other short surah. So now I'm just going through the Salat, trying to be at peace and trying to pay attention to when it's time for me to go to the next position. Understanding that Arabic and everything else will come afterwards, but as long as you get comfortable with the motions and then remembering the cue to go between each motion, after a while it's gonna literally become muscle memory. I think muscle memory is a safer way to say mundane, because after a while it's like, I don't know, you may see some people in the mosque really in their prayers. They're fully in the moment. Astaghfirullah, and may Allah protect us from being one who rushes through their salat. The craziest thing in the world to see is when we have so much wisdom about how to pray, how special that moment is, and that union between you and God you're trying to get at that moment, for you to rush through salat. You're supposed to pause between the verses. You're supposed to give Allah your full attention. But if you're rushing through it, you obviously want to go home and watch the football game. Start for a lot. You don't want to finish salat. So the page 10, share this really quick. You'll see the word intention in all caps. And what do we begin with before we do anything in Islam? We have to set our intention. And right after that, that keyword intention, you'll see takbir. Takbir is a descriptive term that means Allahu Akbar. That's just the title for that saying. So as soon as you hear that, your intention set, you say Allahu Akbar, your prayer is officially started. Hopefully that doesn't seem like a lot, because technically we haven't even gotten to everything else yet. It's that whole part of getting ready for the salat, that whole part of understanding how sacred that act is, trying to have some sort of union, right, with wherever you're at, to Allah. I highly doubt that if Allah sees you purifying yourself, making your wudu, coming to the mosque with nice clothes on, you set your intention to do all of this. You didn't just say, man, I'm bored, I might as well just go to the mosque. Oh, you prepared for that. And you went in there, and what is the first thing that you said in prayer? Allahu Akbar. God is greater, God is bigger than anything that I could have got distracted by out there. All because we did what? Learn how to pray. That was a very highly recommended recommendation from the Prophet Muhammad. He would commence the prayer by saying Allahu Akbar. He used to also say the key to the prayer is the purification. I'll read this sentence and maybe we can open this one up to build a bit, and we'll work our way through a couple of stages of salat. And if anybody does have some informative videos of going through the motions, a lot of times they do recite some of the short surahs. So those will be very, very good to share within, the year one Darrah. He would say that the key to the prayer is purification. It is entered by takbir, Allahu Akbar, and exited by taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. he said the key to the prayer is purification, right? But when we get taught it like that over here in the West, that word purification is going to be immediately attributed to voodoo, which it is good to know. Yes, we kind of have to know eventually, but Allah is all knowing and all forgiving. He knows we're working on these things. But if the key to prayer is purification, but the purification that the Prophet Muhammad is describing is begun by saying Allahu Akbar, and it's closed by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What's being purified? Who's being purified? Is what he talking about in this sentence a tangible thing that's being purified? Because remember, before we even begun the prayer, we've already made actual wudu. We're standing on the prayer rug now. We're centering ourselves. We have no idea what Quran verses the Imam is going to recite for us, but no matter which ones that he recites, they are beautiful. And at that moment, nothing else matters, nothing else exists but the self within, waiting for its chance to connect to Source, to Allah, in prayer. And when it does, and it realizes that on the inside, that self is now purified. That nafs, that ego, or that lower self that was just sitting at home bored and said, I guess I will go to the mosque. The one that looked at the clock and said, I have 2.5 hours until we do Dhuhr at my mosque. That means I get to finish folding my clothes. I'll finish doing laundry when I get done with class. That'll give me about 20 minutes to get to the mosque. I have everything I need to do planned out. And it's not that I'm inserting my time in the mosque in the midst of that. Everything else has to rotate around it. All right. So when someone explains something Islamic to you in a mosque or out in the streets or in the world with any kind of experience, and they're so adamant about you understanding it just at the surface level that they understand it. I know it's hard sometimes to really sit here and let somebody beat you up with something that you know you've already overcame and transcended. But what are we studying? The Prophet's prayer, the Prophet's way of creating and maintaining a union between himself and Allah. The next page, page 11, we can, if you do have the PDFs and are looking along, astaghfirullah for losing the sharing capabilities, but raising the hands, like we were just saying in prayer. He would raise his hands sometimes with the takbir, sometimes after it, and sometimes before it. Well, it may not seem like a lot, but what he's saying is just within him performing Allahu Akbar, there's 3 different ways or 3 different levels of his intention being set by doing it. So sometimes he would do it with the takbir, Allahu Akbar. Sometimes after the takbir, Allahu Akbar. Or sometimes before it, Allahu Akbar. But either way, what did you just do? But throw all of your cares behind you, whether you threw them behind you and then realize at that same time that Allah is greater than what I'm throwing behind me, or whether you already knew it and you said Allahu Akbar and then threw it, or you threw it and you realized that the weight was no longer on you and you still said Allahu Akbar. But 3 different levels of understanding why we raise our hands and say Allahu Akbar. Man, I think if I would have learned a lot like that, I'd probably still be one of those brothers that do go to that Muslim mosque down the street 5 times a day like I used to do. But at least 1 or 2 of them have to get made at home, right? Like, did not the Prophet Muhammad also say, since we're talking about prayer, salat, at that Islamic level, don't make your houses into a graveyard? What does he mean by that? If we're talking,
Can you repeat that, Shay? I'm sorry.
He said, in regards to salat and where we do it at, obviously there are blessings that are bigger in the mosque than blessings that are at home in regards to prayer. But he did say, don't make your homes into a graveyard. Don't just lay in your bed and leave the body, right? Don't just lay in the bed and leave the body. The body is not working right now, so the body is just dead. Don't make your homes into a graveyard. Don't just sleep there. Pray there also. Meditate there also. If you're trying to get rigid with learning as much as you can about the prayers in the salat, do just that, but have the same vigor when you pray in the mosque, when we get to a level where we're comfortable enough to kind of go in there around them and fully be able to do it without kind of thinking that we might, do something wrong. We're not there to please them. We're there to please Allah. So not making your houses into a graveyard. Keep a prayer rug in at least one of the rooms in your house. There's so many practices just in regards to knowing salat that sometimes it's like you can almost slip off into it up here after you figure it out. Brother, you just read my mind. You literally just read my mind, man. Alhamdulillah. I don't know where or how you work, but I'm tied to a 3-foot cord attached to a headset to a computer. So I literally, if I try to prostrate, I'm gonna snatch my headset out of the computer. So it, in some cases, it hit the machine. Yes. You know what? That's why I love this book. Keep this one. Definitely keep this one when it comes to certain things to do and not to do, or difficulties, like perceived difficulties when it comes to prayer, for those that already have their full salat. There is a quote here. Aha, on facing the Kaaba. And I think that's what Muhammad was mentioning in that last sentence about the actual purification begins when you start prayer and it ends when you finish prayer. Because when he was really teaching people about facing the Kaaba, some astaghfirullah, some took it literally. I have a prayer road pointed somewhere towards the east. It might be a few degrees up or down. Astaghfirullah again. But when Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba teaches us that the true Hajj is an inner journey and the Kaaba is the heart, and that Allah doesn't dwell within the heavens or the earth, but he dwells within the heart of a true believer, there's a connection between the heart and the mind, because Allah also mentions that I'm closer to you than your own jugular vein, right in the middle between the heart and the mind. There is a very special prayer that is attributed to a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. If you can make 2 rakah of salat in a place where nobody can see you, it would be acceptable, especially if you're in a situation where you've missed or are fearful of missing, right? Where can you make salat where nobody can see you? So no matter what we're going through in this day-to-day life, so-called mundane living over here, that some of us really don't like. I want to be in Africa right now. If we can always keep salat on our mind, if we can keep the feeling of peace that we had when we last made salat on our mind, even at times I'll be on the phone with a customer getting yelled at, and my phone will vibrate, and I know it's about time for Asr. Try my best to picture myself making salat up here, regardless of what kind of name I'm getting called in my ear, or what's going on. If I can hold a visual image of myself making salat up here, it doesn't have to be perfect, because remember page 10, Allah judges us by our what? Our intention. Holding it up there is acceptable, because what did you just do? You made salat on the inside, on the inner plane. Flip back to that sentence that we were speaking on about the Prophet Muhammad saying it's the purification happens between the Allahu Akbar and the Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's also on the inside. So the pushed worldly, astaghfirullah, cultural Arab culturalisms that astaghfirullah still do just so happen to exist, don't have to be done in accordance with someone else's cultural understanding about it. Just because so-and-so might not be able to meditate, just because so-and-so's system might not have visualization practices, they can't even perceive how to have that thought. They can't even perceive how to think about meditating and visualizing something while doing it, because you never had an original thought to lead up to it in the first place, because they just do Islam like the Arab told them. But that's not what we're here for at all. If you've ever do any just kind of reading around about these sons of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, there's one, I do believe it was the fourth or fifth, Surah Abdul Ahad, and Astaghfirullah, may Allah forgive me if I'm quoting it incorrectly, but it's the fourth or the fifth people mention that his rule or reign as Khalifa was the shortest lived because of him transitioning so soon after he wound up coming to that rank after his brother passed. But what he did in the short amount of time was to enact a change, right? All of those brothers and sisters in Senegal are Muslim. You walk up to one of them by file if you want to and tell them, because they got on multiple colors, patchwork, African designs, loud zikr beads that make a whole bunch of noise, talismans with pictures on them. Tell them that they're not Muslim if you want to. I'm not telling them that they're not Muslim. Some brothers pray harder than me. Some brothers know some languages, man. I'm not going to tell them that they're not Muslim, but that particular shape wound up making people realize that you can be your Wolof self, you can be your West African self and still be a Muslim, because now you're starting to get these Sufi understandings about, y'all still over there fighting about surface level stuff? I'm gonna go dive over here and y'all can have the surface level stuff. There's so much other available and applicable info within our law. If we would just kind of get past the surface in this book will help us out. Saffron, you have a question?
It wasn't a question. If I have permission just to add just a little bit to what you were saying.
Yes, please.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. It just reminded me of something that I was told a really long time ago, where, and I'm gonna paraphrase it and try to remember to the best of my ability. Allah forgive me if I say anything incorrect. That during the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, there was some Arabs that came to the Prophet and was referencing something that some of the African brothers were doing as being haram, and it had something to do with the drums or something of that nature. And again, paraphrasing and stuff like, but Prophet Muhammad SAW basically was like, leave them to that. He didn't say it was haram. He was like, let them keep their culture. Kind of. So what you're saying is kind of like bringing that up. I don't. If you remember it better than me and you want to share, inshallah, I'm sure you'll do it better than me, inshallah.
No. Anything that I can do, you can do greater. It's like Jesus said in the Bible. But I do remember that quote. It was actually an interaction between the cousins, really, because who is a Yemenite other than the Ethiopian on the other side of the Red Sea?
SubhanAllah, right.
So the interaction between those on both sides, and then the Arab that did come in, he wound up mentioning to them two things like that. They were all together on a observance, because the Christians' observance just so happened to fall almost at the exact same time as this Islamic observance, right? So they were together. It's supposed to be a ummah, a big human family, and we were. But then the Africans or the Christians started to play their drums and dance and started to sing, and all this up here at the surface. But the book says you can't play music. The book says you're not supposed to dance. That's haram. The book says that if you dance, that means Iblis is close to you. But then the people around the Prophet Muhammad realized he was doing something. The Prophet Muhammad was tapping his foot on the ground to the beat of the drum that everybody else was too afraid to dance to. And they realized it, like, Ya Rasulullah, astaghfirullah, we can't. And he mentioned that same thing. This is their Eid. This particular piece of this observance is their Eid, or this is their, we know what go on up there. And ours is happening almost at the exact same time. Like, and then he mentioned, to to us be what we do, to them be what they do. But now do you see that we both have something similar, even with the stuff we can't talk about? So stop tripping over the music. Let them Africans be African. Alhamdulillah. If you guys ever get to, I know I had this one because I couldn't get the concept of how or where to turn based on where I was. So I figured out this inner compass thing. But when the Quran says stuff like to Allah, or Allah is the Lord of the two easts and the two wests, Rabbul Mashriqi wa Rabbul Maghribi. So whithersoever which way you turn your face, there is the face of Allah. If that's the case, then where's the Qibla? The Qibla is what is between the east and the west. But remember what Bamba taught us, right? It's between the east and the west. This is a little off center, but it's in between this side where Allah says, and that side where Allah says, after prayer. Islam is a whole lot deeper than telling someone that, sir, your prayer rug is 7 degrees too far off north. Are you praying towards Jerusalem still, sir? Like, ya Aki. You know you're not supposed to have such adornments around your neck when you're making prayer. It causes noise and it disturbs other people in the mosque. Ya Aki, you're not supposed to wear photos of anyone. Photographs are haram. Ya Aki, that at least comes through the foot. If I don't know about y'all, but if I go to a mosque and I don't hear one prayer bead move, I'm out. I'm out. Because what is the person not doing? They're going in and they're rushing through the prayer and get done. They just sat there and prayed and then got up and didn't sit there long enough to listen to what Allah was about to tell them. How can we get to that point where we're in tune with what Allah is about to tell us? Pray like Muhammad told us to do. Try our best to follow him in his outer way and the inner way. So Sufism isn't a get out of jail free card. Astaghfirullah. You don't have to not learn Salat. You just don't get beat up with it like the world would do you. Because Allah didn't tell Gabriel to tell Muhammad to make Islam difficult for us at all. Nor to use Islam to separate us from anybody, any system, any religion, any path, any walk, any talk. How do you have La ilaha illallah and you separate things? There's only one, but you got the nerve to say, those Shias over there, I don't know about them, but them Shias are over there saying, I don't know about them Sunnis, brother. Like they got the lineage wrong, but they're following the wrong Sisla. Meanwhile, the Sufis are just over here 7,000 zikrs in, drunk, not worried about the split. All we want is Allah. Y'all can have all that other stuff, unless you turn and realize, wait a minute. Heart, mind, heart, lie closer in journey than La Homa fi Samawati or La Fil. It's me. It's in me. It's been talking and telling me to do the right thing this whole time, and I haven't been doing it. What can I do to correct that? Set your intention. Step on the physical prayer rug. If you can't, set your intention and put yourself in the mental space to where you can kind of picture yourself going through Salat. Astaghfirullah. This happens. When I mentioned Sufi to Orthodox Muslims, they were very discouraging to me. May Allah protect us from anyone who tries to lower our vibration when we're just trying to raise it to get closer to Allah. One of the primary reasons, and it's plain as day when you look at it, why won't a Muslim be or become a Sufi? Because the Muslim prays 5 times a day, goes to the mosque like told, listens to the Imam at the khutbah on Friday, and celebrate their Eid, fast Ramadan. Have to understand those things because they have substance too. I want that Muslim try to at least understand something about Sufism instead of chastising it. Because it's right there in their face. It literally is right there in their face. Some of the things that we do, we get directly from the Prophet Muhammad. Because again, at the beginning of the class, you remember if it's not the Quran and if it's not the Sunnah, then it doesn't even come from Sheikh Ahmed Bamba. The majority of everything that we are getting from Sheikh Sufi comes directly from Surain Salih, who is a son of Sheikh Ahmed Bamba. We are directly connected, y'all, to understanding this in such a way that, I don't know. Y'all, I believe we're pioneering something that hadn't been done in 403, 404 years. For the very first time, we have people from all different walks and talks. We have people from all different belief systems, schools of thought, religions. We have people that are studying this science all over the world in the exact same place at the exact same time, using our iron to sharpen the others, with all of it at the exact same time. So I'll have to close this with this one. Outside of the Islamic stuff, we already know what was taken from us as a people, as a whole, by who's in control of things in the material world right now. Just the fact that all 15 of us are here right now from all these different walks and talks and ways of life, thinking, being, and praying, to come get it universally, so that now we that just got it universally can go out there and help everybody else with it. Because we know it works, because it helped us. Because if it didn't help us, we wouldn't be here today. I don't know about anybody else, but this particular journey is personal. The ancestors that this was taken from, I'm getting it back for them. As a matter of fact, rewind. The ancestors that it was taken from, Sheikh Ahmed Bamba already knew that they were going to come forward, so he already he protected it and preserved it in this way. Don't sacrifice your Blackness. Don't sacrifice yourself. Don't sacrifice your experience, because all of that made you who you are to get to here today. Even though we're learning Islam, figuring out how to make these motions of prayer, learning the ins and outs of it. At the end of the day, we know who we are and we know where we come from, and we know that this science is ours, and it was ours before the people that we're studying right now had it. Mr. Safra,
Like Muslim astaghfirullah. You just made me think about something else when you're talking about getting back with the ancestors, what was taken from the ancestors. I remember speaking to a Sufi sheikh actually years ago, and I was like telling him how I felt sad because nobody in my family was Muslim. And because I would come and I would just see a lot of people for the Eid and stuff like, and they would be with their families, other than my children, And he said to me that Allah knows best, but my ancestors were Muslim, and they prayed that from their lineage that someone would remember that and return to Islam, and perhaps that I'm the answer to prayer. SubhanAllah. I just wanted to add that to what you're saying.
we could take the word perhaps out. Nope, there's no perhaps, because that perhaps sounds like doubt. Nope, it is. Because if we were to, I need that. Let's see if I can run this by Sheikh to see if I could teach this process. This particular process, honestly, I would teach it for free. FamilySearch.org. FamilySearch.org will allow us to verify just that. It's a little bit of a journey because it's a family tree database ran by Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints, Jesuits, because they house public records from here to Lord knows how far back. You can build and start your family tree. I caught the hands in just a sec, and at least 5 generations back, somewhere between 5.5 to 6 generations back, we have the ability to find out exactly where the people on that damn boat came from. Exactly. Yeah, I think I may have to build on that one, and we'll wind up teaching the actual class on that, because whether that question can still be answered and it can still be looked into, as long as you can trace down an original name connected to anybody before you came. Last names. Areas of town that last name showed up on any public record you could find, and work it kind of like how Sheikh teaches us with the zikr. Hone in on it until you start to narrow it down. I will say it took me about 6 years to get to where I'm at, but it's worth it. We'll go to Sister Saffron, next one.
No, Sheikh, I meant to lower my hands. I apologize.
Oh, stop her. And let's see here. Mr. Zara? Yes, I had your hand raised as well.
Yes. So it was more so I wanted to add to what you were talking about as far as the different walks of life, and basically you do everything that you just said as far as being who you are. Everything leads me in the comparison like the 99 names of Allah plus the 1B is very similar to me to the 200 plus 185. And the reason I just saw the whole comparison and it being the same thing is because the plus 1 means different paths that leads to the same thing. So plus 1 may come as Sufi, plus 1 may come as a joined tradition that takes Islam and another one, and different things, so that you can use spirituality as itself to become enlightened with the basis and the tradition that you have already with that knowledge, so that's what the plus ones mean to me, as far as the beads and the plus ones, the zikr beads, and far as the plus one in E5, because I can't help but to see the same thing no matter where I look.
Yeah. There, for those that can see, like, based on what we were just building on and what she just said, that photo or that group of photos that was shared around on, I think, various forms of social media, Facebook, IG, and eventually in some of the WhatsApp groups, of that Tibetan Buddhist monk. That Tibetan Buddhist monk. Tibetan Buddhist monk in Senegal, right? Sitting with a Bifal sheikh and a Murid sheikh. At the end of this sequence of photos, this Tibetan Buddhist monk now has on a white buba, like Sheikh Bamba, and a Bifal belt around his waist, and the Bifal hoodie. Now look at those photos again, and I'm gonna blow your mind to show you how blessed this Darrah is. 2 or 3 pictures in, there's an elder on the right side of the photo, leaning in like he was about to draw a symbol or something on the ground with his hand. Salt and pepper hair, dark blue and black. That person was the Bifal sheikh that initiated that Tibetan Buddhist monk, because what that Tibetan Buddhist monk has is the same thing. Exact same thing. He just says it in a different language. That guy with that salt and pepper hair that initiated that Tibetan Buddhist monk is none other than Serene Abu Bakr Mbo. Serene Abu Bakr Mbo is the last Bifal sheikh that Sheikh Sufi took bayat with. Serene Abu Bakr Mbo was the one that told Sheikh Sufi, look, I've given you so much while you were here. You got people in America that need this right now. So that guy, we are directly connected to a being such as him that has such a light about him because of his love for Sheikh Ahmed Bamba and Sheikh Iqbal, where some Buddhist monk had to come from Tibet and take initiation in the Bifal and the Murid path in the same day. Y'all don't have to go anywhere. Every single thing you could ever think you could look for, want, desire, need, or betterment of self, selves around self, and the community around themselves is right here. I'm thankful and grateful to Allah for bringing us all together. We're a little past the halfway point, so I'll bookmark the book, and I'll send out some bullet points about step-by-steps of learning how to get to that first actual step of prayer. We still won't forget that, but you know, kind of how we have to give it over here. It's for us. This ain't for nobody else. So if there are any questions, comments, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for the last 35 minutes or so of the class for some open dialogue. I always do love to hear how this path and these teachings are helping other people about the secret of La ilaha illallah. I'm gonna shut up. Brother Nuran Shah, assalamu alaikum. We'll go ahead and start with you, brother.
Yeah, blessings. Wa alaikum salam, Sheikh. Shukran. First off, I just want to thank you because full transparency. When I saw those pictures, so okay, like ever since a couple weeks ago, I've been like, this is great. Like I've been reading this stuff, trying to learn the Arabic. I've been like, okay, let me what would a good Sufi do, quote unquote, like use it like that, right? And I saw those pictures, and I was kind of confused because I was like, wait a minute, and this is just give everybody a little background on me. I'm like, wait a minute now. I know what's going on the continent, at least in terms of, with China and all this sort of thing. So I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? So I immediately thought about something that Neely Fuller Jr. has talked about in his code book about religion. So I was like, oh boy, have I been, is it the okie doke? Like, I thought I found something that was like, okay, but all of that to say, Sheikh, you answered questions that I didn't even ask publicly in our orientation this morning. So thank you. That's I'm respect and shukran, and thank everybody. Thank you. Respect.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I can't take credit for that, man. We're just connected to the Sheikh Sufi, who's connected to Sari Salih, who's connected to Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, who's connected to the Prophet Muhammad, who is the direct source of light that came directly from Allah. Dang, I don't get no better than that. Doesn't get any better than that. See where we're at in the chat. He definitely does. Won't he does it? Yes, he does. Ooh. Oh, Caleb. Yes. Elijah Muhammad's prophecy of a new Islam beyond religion is literally playing out right now. Not to switch gears or to well, you can't take anything away from Bamba or this order at all, but all praise is due to Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. I am grateful for that man and what he came over here and he taught it, he gave to Elijah Muhammad for the betterment of our people in the situation that we were in. Because literally right now, like Brother Caleb said in the chat, if we go back and look at some of the things Elijah Muhammad said about Islam and can look backwards from today, we'll see why everybody else would never call the nation of Islam Muslims, because they didn't understand. They couldn't. The teachings weren't for anybody else outside of this continent to understand. But now when we look back at those things, now what do we see? Exactly what we were working our way up through the first half of the class, talking about regular prayer, certain portions of the actual prayer, but also talking about the inner realities about it. So what we're seeing is, this is how I make sure I don't say anything stupid, y'all. So y'all bear with me when you see me doing this. Mundane, I kind of hate that term mundane, but when you look back and you realize how religion separated us, how religion from the surface level kept us kind of mentally dumbed down in regards to our potential that we have within us that can connect to the heavens and above. Wa alaikum salam, we be sadly get that phone charged up. We got a bill tomorrow. I'll hit you up for real. Let's see. You can't be throwing secrets out there like that, Lucy. But yeah, but that's all a part of that process. So the regular surface level understanding of religion and people thinking that their surface level understanding of religion, that day and age is slowly but surely ceasing to be. Just like what we saw in those photos, a Buddhist monk that may chant Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum 108 times on his prayer beads because he has 108 beads on those Tibetan and Buddhist and some of the Hindu prayer beads. If we want to tap into the name Yah Haq, the truth, the name of Allah, which means the truth, not a the, nothing other. Haq also equals 108. This Buddhist chants Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, with a few others, 108 times, and is now connected to a system to where he has a completely different but just as potent spiritual science of letters and numbers and words of power. Hopefully that particular person isn't coming to try to start anything like the Chinese are doing. But if his intention is pure, and if his intention is to become a brighter light to then shine so everybody else can see how to get to Muhammad, so that Muhammad can lead them to Allah, I have no problem with him being there. Now, comments, yes, Lord. I believe Sheikh Afenu Bamba is with us while we are making some because I swear I love y'all. I've never seen some of y'all in person, man, but I love y'all. So, does everybody see that? I believe Sheikh Afenu Bamba is with us while we're making salat. He was so strict on his salat that he prayed on water. He prayed on water when the French said that he couldn't pray on the boat. Get your hand out of my pocket. There's a blue bookmark right here. I'm going to open this page. And read what is bookmarked. Prophet Muhammad in regards to prayer on a ship. Mentioned in the Hadith. Praying on a ship is mentioned in the Hadith. Page 5. But what he says is, he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was asked about prayer on a ship. So he said, pray on it standing unless you are afraid of drowning. What is the it that he was told to pray on that he could possibly drown in? You can't drown on the boat, right? Unless that boat is in the water. So even in the Hadith, something that our beloved Sering Tuba wound up doing and fully embodying in action in front of them French is based off of a Hadith, an attributed saying of the Prophet Muhammad about what to do if you're presented with being in a situation where you should pray on a boat. We didn't mention the why. There's just nothing esoteric about actually praying on the boat. It's just a silent point towards what this it is that he just mentioned. I wish I could share this recording, but I'll see if I can do so. There's a Wolof chant And it is so deep. It only has 4 lines. Sering tu bak shakiba fal andun nanyun dem, and that nanyut aidi. Sering tu bak shakiba fal andun nanyun dem, and that nanyut aidi. Jerry Femam Bamba, Jerry Femam Bamba, Jarama shakiba fal, Jarama shakiba fal. Sering tu bak shakiba fal, and that nanun dem, and that nanyut aidi. But what that means. Yalla! Sering Tuba and Mom Sheikh Ibrahim had been together since the spiritual worlds, and they are together today in this physical world. When you making salat, who you think is right there with you? Other than the one that came over here to come find us to take us to Muhammad so we can go to Allah. At any level that we have the potential to do it. Sheikh Ahmed Obama got a 400-year plan, and we still have a couple hundred years in that 400-year plan, y'all. Start for a lot. We went in pretty good today. You wrap up to make sure no questions were missed in the chat. Yes. Oh, don't make me go run and get it from my bookshelf. That book, Afrikaan mentioned in the chat, Servants of Allah. If you can find it, get it. Or actually, it might be in one of my Google Drive accounts. So I will search for that. Even on the cover of that particular book, the person that is presented is Ayuba Suleiman Diallo, Fulani from Bornu, which is north central eastern Senegal area, sub-Sahara. Came from the exact same country as the people that we're studying today. Add that one to the arsenal. And let's see if he's still here. If Brother Osama is still here, I will holler at you with some links on surnames, surname searches, and it doesn't even matter what language the surname is in, whether it's some of us that have, you know, the white man last name, some of us that might still, you know, have a Muslim name because we were brought up in a Muslim household, or any other cultural name. There's ways to find it and pinpoint it to start that journey to kick it off. Because I hate to make fun of them, but if a whole country full of people named Muhammad can build their family tree, astaghfirullah, y'all, I'm so sorry, that was so mean. But if a country full of people that have the exact same name, because all them names over there all take the exact same holy names, if they can put it in this, if they can put their name in a particular order to where if you read their name is their family tree. If they can do that, I know we can do it better. And I'm gonna teach y'all how to do it. Be serious, la ilaha illallah. The Prophet's prayer. described from beginning to end. As though you see it. It's kind of odd, but if you search the Prophet's Prayer, you'll bump into a whole bunch of other random books. So you kind of have to type. You kind of have to type in that whole thing if you want to search for it online. And I do believe if all of you are in either the main Darrah, the year one, or either the Kun Fi Kun group, I did drop the PDF of this book in each of those book groups. So we'll all have access to this exact same book. I know we haven't heard or seen from her in a while. She's doing some work in the background. Thanks to Sister Sona Ruby. Sister Ruby found this PDF after bumping into this book when they came to my house for the last retreat. So if there are any questions, if there's anything you might want to learn a little bit more about, or anything specific from the long table of contents, as long as you can kind of connect this Islamic question, like, I wonder yada, yada, yada about Salat. And then I go, oh, okay. So if I bow down, and when I bow down, I ate too much, and I go, I just broke my wudu. In the middle of ruku, I put too much pressure on my stomach. I'm past gas. But what do you think we would get told from someone in the mosque if they heard that happen? And what do you think we would get told by a mystic Sufi sheikh if he heard that happen? Not much. Because Prophet Muhammad says in regards to what breaks a prayer on page 9, a man's prayer is cut off when there is nothing such as the end of a saddle in front of him by a woman, a donkey, or a black dog. Abu Dhar said, "O Messenger of Allah, why the black dog rather than a red one?" He said, don't take this the wrong way, but in this particular saying, the black dog is the shaitan. But what he means is, the first part, a man's prayer is cut off when there is nothing such as the end of a saddle in front of him, a woman, a donkey. He means something that might not be as mature as where he is at the moment. His eyesight shouldn't look at it. He should lower his gaze and look at this spot on the carpet where he's about to bump his forehead into again. Right, kind of how they repeat the same Islamic teaching. And a man's prayer is cut off, not necessarily cut off and forever taken away from ever connecting to Allah. We dive into and break that down. Also, it kind of means rendered futile. But recorded in that same exact hadith, it says, nothing cuts off the prayer. So just because I'm completely in the spiritual zone up here in my rakaz, and I'm just flowing through my salat, I might have ate a sandwich a little bit too big for lunch. And then when I go, Sami Allah, Allahu Akbar. Oh, as long as nobody heard it. And hopefully nobody smells it. Am I gonna stop praying? Nope. Nothing cuts off the prayer except the person. The person cuts the prayer off. If you stop praying to then go run to go wash your hands again, even though you just passed gas out of your rear end, you stopped praying. Finish the salat. When you get done, 70 to 100 astaghfirullah for while you were making salat. But don't turn around and prayer is almost about to be invalidated. Y'all hold on, I gotta go wash my hands in the middle of salat. The imam is still reciting Quran. Don't make Islam difficult. Make Islam easy for the believers. Don't make the process of connecting to Allah difficult. Make it easy for the believers, because it's actually a hell of a lot easier than anybody else in the world will tell us outside of what Allah already said. And we'll wrap up here. If he doesn't fit in the heavens, and if he doesn't fit in the earth, but he fits in the heart of a true believer, if the remembrance of Allah is the greatest, here he is here, and the remembrance of Allah is the greatest. It's Al-Akbar, it's the highest in this comparison of things that we're talking about where Allah resides. As long as you got Allah here, every time this thing pumps, what does it do? Pushes Allah through all of these thousands of miles of blood vessels up to the brain. Brain draws the last amount of oxygen from the blood to sustain itself, pulls what minerals from it can so that it continue its process. And it sends the deoxygenated blood back down where Allah says he is closer to us than our own jugular vein. There's something that happens right here. This blood coming down from the brain has been snatched of oxygen out of sources that it has attached to it, because Allah needs Allah to live. So it has to do this. But when it finally gets to the end, it ain't got no more left. It falls. The blood is falling, coming right back on down into the top chamber of the heart. And as soon as you inhale again, and that heart pumps one more time, what happens? You get more Allah. That is it right there, y'all. That is it right there, y'all. Wow, look at Salam. If all hearts and minds are clear, we'll close with just a short qasida. It's growing to be one of my favorites because of how powerful it is in these 12 lines. Hope every single one of you enjoys the rest of this, what they call a weekend, but we ain't gonna go there. And I'll send screenshots of this here too. Now, I'll translate it too. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. اهدي جميعنا صراط المستقيم وبصاحهم كلنا بلا سقيم. اهدي جميعنا صراط المستقيم وبصاحهم كلنا بلا سقيم. لك كتاب يا قريب يا مجيب يا من به لازمني خير عجيب. حبلي والذين قد تلاحقوا بيا هدى به لخير نطلقوا. إياك نعبد ونستعين فإنك المحبود والمهين. Dalatana bika alayka ya Raqib. Ya man bihi yanhu lahu kullu naqib. Ya za siratil mustaqim hablana. Hudan bihi yukhbithum man qablana. Ihtijmihina siratal mustaqim. Guide us all on the right path. Wabisahihim lana bil asafin. Make us strong and not deficient, both physically and spiritually. I address you, Allah, the one who is near and the one who answers prayers. Oh, he by whom the supreme miracle has bound itself to us. Habli walazina qad tahallaku. Grant me and my disciples biyahudan bihi likhayri nutlaku, a straightness leading to your grace. Iyaka na'budu wa nasta'inu. See how he slid a verse from Fatiha in there? It is you alone that we adore and you alone that we implore for help. Fa'inaka mahbudu wal muhinu. You are certainly the only one we adore and the only one who helps. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim reference. Dalaltana biha alayka ya Raqib. You have enlightened us about you, about your dimension, O vigilant one. Ya man bihi yanhu lahu kullu naqib. O you with whose grace and towards whom all God-conscious people walk. As I said, hablana, O holder of the straight path, grant us hudan bihi yakhbituna man qablana, a straightness so straight that our predecessors will envy us. Make us so upright and so straight that the people that gone before would envy us because they had the same opportunity to be as straight and upright and as close to Allah. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Be on the lookout. I do believe that Brother Kofi has. Nope, astaghfirullah. He got that class knocked out on Thursday. We will, inshallah, see everyone tomorrow morning for the 11 o'clock class with the Sheikh, going back into Minhaj al-Abidin. Send prayers to Allah for this little skinny little Sheikh down here in Little Georgia. As me and friends and brothers will be leaving Macon around that same time, going to Atlanta for the janazah of a Muslim brother of ours that recently made his return back to Allah. By the grace of the best of those who seek refuge in Allah, protect us from all harm, front, back, side to side, up, down, and from anywhere it could come. By the secret of there being nothing in existence but Allah in the first place. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Sheikh.
Alaikum
Assalamu
salam.
alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
Ameen.
Walaikum salam.
Alaikum salam, sister.
Walaikum salam, Sheikh.
Hey, walaikum salam, brother. We'll be.
Walaikum assalam, Sheikh Bilal. Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, brother.